Hello, welcome to the Healthy Alternatives podcast. I am Dr. Christine Sauer with DocChristine.com. Today's show is a recording of my radio show of the same name. Enjoy! Good afternoon, this is Dr. Christine Sauer, your host of the show Healthy Alternatives, here on 97.5 CIOE-FM with live stream on communityradio.ca every Thursday at noon, at 12 noon Atlantic Standard Time. Thanks for tuning in today. In this show, we will talk, mostly with guests, about all aspects of health, healthcare and wellness, from conventional to alternative and everything in between. My mission for this radio show is to help change people's lives for the better by informing them about different options to get and stay healthy and well so they can choose for themselves which option might work in their case. And if you feel you're stuck in a dark place, I want to tell you, don't give up. There is a light at the end of the tunnel for you too. For those who don't know me, I'm the founder of DocChristine.com and a German-trained conventional as well as naturopathic physician. I'm often asked to give a bit more in-depth information about different health topics, and I'm happy to oblige. So today is a special show to introduce my association with Erin from fuelingforhealth.com. She has a cool radio show here on 97.5 herself. We are joining forces to help people fight the obesity epidemic, one person at a time. Welcome to my show, Erin.
Thank you so much, Christine, for having me.
Now, for those of my listeners that haven't listened to the show that we had before, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you became the fuelingforhealth.com nutrition consulting and the person you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like everyone else, I kind of had my own ups and downs with my own health journey. When I was 3 years old, I was diagnosed with vertigo, and it wasn't until I was 5 years old when the doctors actually told me that I had vertigo back then. And I was under a lot of experimental medications and a lot of seizure medications, and just a lot of the drugs that I was given just did not do anything. It actually worsened a lot of my episodes back then. I was constantly getting sick. I had a lot of imbalance issues. I couldn't do like gym classes growing up. So there was a lot of challenges I had to face. So it wasn't until I got a little bit older where I started developing different taste buds for foods. I hated vegetables and fruits and a lot of like lean proteins. I was so picky. All I wanted to do was eat Kraft Dinner and Mr. Noodles as a kid.
So many kids are like that, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I got older, I just started to actually enjoy eating vegetables. I kind of slowly built up my tolerance level to them. You know, it's like one.
So now, what caused that change?
It was just like a different mindset. It was basically that I realized that I just felt better inside, just from consuming different foods that I normally never ate as a kid. And that kind of led me to my path of getting my undergrad in nutrition. And I just became fascinated with how nutrition works and how everything is metabolized in the body and how certain foods we shouldn't even eat.
I don't even call them foods. I call them food stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, whatever way kind of works for you to feel more motivated that, hey, I feel better on a high vegetable diet and lean proteins and incorporating a lot of nuts and seeds. And I like the fact that I learned how like food was metabolized, and I realized that I had so much sugar and so much salt in my diet that it was creating a lot of the episodes. So I was able to minimize a lot of them just from changing my diet. And I get the occasional vertigo episode maybe like once a month, versus when I was a kid I would get them almost every day. And it was impossible for me to be able to stay in school because I was always going home with dizziness episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is such a nice story. And I know you have your business, Fueling for Health and Nutrition Consulting, which is amazing. What is your favorite thing to do?
Yeah, and that was pretty much why I wanted to create my own company. I graduated from Mount St. Vincent in 2014, and I realized that there wasn't a whole lot of places that really would narrow down on the research with why food and nutrition really works for someone to help get them to better health. And what I really specialize is creating customized meal plans. And because that seemed to be a lot of struggle. Most of my clients come to me because they're struggling with weight loss or they lack the energy. And the meal plans that I put them, they like the fact that I give them recipes and grocery lists and like a full spectrum nutrient profile to say this is how many vitamins and minerals you're actually consuming in the diet, so they're not lacking anything.
and that is fascinating and so important that people learn the basics of cooking real food.
Absolutely, yeah.
And not the fake foods that we have been used to. And we want to focus the next two shows actually about the obesity epidemic. You deal with it every day, so do I. And I actually created an online group coaching program to help people understand that it's not their fault that they are big and what they can do to release those pounds over time in a safe, healthy and working manner.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited that we join forces so we can help even more people in an even better way.
Definitely. And I really think that it's so important to understand where food is coming from and to learn different cooking styles. Like, I get a lot of clients that just don't know what to make in the kitchen. They don't know they don't know how to utilize a lot of the ingredients in the fridge, so then they pick up the phone and they call like a Pizza Delight or something.
And sometimes it's just a convenience. I don't feel like cooking. I'm too tired.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that tiredness is a consequence of something else that is not addressed.
Absolutely.
And that's very fascinating. And that's one thing that I'm most fascinating about, to get to the root causes of such diseases that our health system sadly can't address because they don't have the time. I mean, the doctors probably would love to do it, but they just don't have the time and the resources to do it properly.
It's so true. I hear clients almost every day, and they said that like their doctors, they just feel rushed when they're at their doctor's office, and all they can do is they can just give them like a prescription drug to make them feel better, and that seems to be like popular back then, but more people now, I realize, they're looking for other alternatives. They actually want to come off the medications. Because
and even if not, I mean, we work with clients that take medications, that have health conditions, and sometimes they want to come off and sometimes they can, and sometimes they can't, and it's not always possible.
Yeah.
But it is a good thing that patients and clients, I don't call them patients, take more charge of their own health.
Absolutely. If the client has hyperthyroidism, for example, it's very hard to come off their medications, but you can certainly make changes with their diets to help improve their thyroid health.
Absolutely. And with nutrition changes and targeted nutrition changes, you can really change how you feel and your health outcomes. And sometimes I've seen clients where the doctor suggested, oh, your blood pressure has been so good, we can reduce your pills. And that is wonderful.
Yeah, it's definitely very motivating to keep going through.
Yeah, and I find it interesting when we watch the news and they say the obesity epidemic and the children are obese, that's terrible, and it causes cancer. Yes, it increases the risk for cancer, for dementia, for all kinds of nasty illnesses, but it is not not your fault, and I don't hear that in the news.
Absolutely. I just feel like they're trying to just come up with this next big solution without actually looking at why it's happening. Like there's this new Weight Watchers app that gets geared towards children. It's
How crazy is that?
It's absolutely insane. Like children should not be going on diets. They should be learning how to
eat properly, real food, and it's a family thing.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm so proud that our program, we decided not to give it just to one person in the family, but when we do the program, the whole family gets enrolled for one payment, which I think is great because, hey, we are a social enterprise. We want to help people.
Absolutely. And when there's kids involved, like the entire family should get involved because the parents would probably be able to understand a lot of the lessons or a lot of the theory a little bit better than children. And like kids need to look up to their parents a little bit more. Like parents set examples for their kids. And it's just so important that the entire family should get involved when setting healthy habits.
It's so important because children don't do as they are told. They do as they see the parents do.
Absolutely.
If you say, oh, you should eat a carrot, and then the parent comes and takes a bag of chips and snacks it up, it doesn't work.
No, absolutely. And
even the Weight Watchers apps is wasted money then.
Yeah, absolutely. And my kid, he is 3 years old, and he's kind of getting into a picky eater phase, and he doesn't like a whole lot of vegetables, but I've been putting a lot of raw vegetables on his plate, and same thing with myself and my husband's. And my husband looked at me and was like, why am I getting a plate of raw vegetables? I'm like, because we're setting good examples for Caden, our son, and he actually eats his vegetables when we're all eating our vegetables.
and that's amazing. And sometimes you can hide them in tomato sauce, and the kids even don't know.
Yeah, exactly. We normally just eat salads almost every night, but Caden doesn't really like salads. He actually likes it when the vegetables are separate from one another.
Oh yeah.
So I figured, well, let's just do some raw veggies, and he's actually happy doing that. So it's like, okay, well.
That's amazing. and this is a good point to wrap up the first half of the show here on 97.5 CIOE FM Community Radio. Please tune in after the commercial break for more with Erin Madden about how to fight obesity. Hello and welcome back to Healthy Alternatives here on 97.5 CIOE FM or on the web at communityradio.ca. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Sauer, and today my associate Erin Madden and I are talking about how to fight the obesity epidemic one person at a time. Welcome back, Erin.
Thank you so much, Christine.
Now I would love to talk a little bit about the real root causes, why that obesity epidemic is there. Because when you look back at the history of medicine, people were not fat.
Yeah.
And it's not genetic.
Yeah.
Because we know genes don't change in 50 years. Genes need thousands or 100,000 of years to change.
Absolutely.
What changed is the expression of genes, the epigenetics. They call it, and it is the influence of the environment on the genetic. Now they say, people exercise less, and it does make an influence. It does have an influence because somebody that cuts trees all day has to eat more than somebody that sits at the desk all day. That's just normal. But we see nowadays that even people that really don't eat that many calories or whatever, they still get big.
Yeah.
And it really happened since the 60s or 70s. And when you look back, they really introduced, before that, already there was white sugar. There wasn't really white flour. There was no genetic modifications. And in the 70s, there was that low-fat craze.
Yes.
And I really think that modulated our genes and made us prone to obesity.
Absolutely. And to kind of touch base on that, as soon as when the low-fat craze hit, that's when everything just started to like spike with a lot of sugar additives to it, and and then after so many years of that, people are like, well, hey, this is actually causing obesity. And when I find that when you start adapting to like new eating patterns, and when you start having a certain preference for certain foods, it just completely changes your whole taste buds. And over time, you start realizing that a lot of companies are coming out with like a lot of ready-made meals, a lot of prepackaged, lots more canned goods. If you actually think way back to like when our parents were young and our grandmothers, they had gardens to go pick from to make pick berries and like make vegetables and put them into like stews and like make salads out of that.
Some of the older people still do it, like myself.
Absolutely. So like our grandparents never did they never bought anything frozen and packaged. They actually made everything from scratch, and
at least most of everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think what really needs to be also said, that sugar, and especially sugar in combination with white flour, and especially those sugar additive, like sugar-like substances like high fructose corn syrup, they are highly addictive. And they influence our brain the same way as cocaine, heroin, or morphine. And it is terrible that we do that to ourselves, and especially the high gluten-containing wheat that they genetically modified to even be more addictive, because in our gut that's damaged anyway from stress, from toxins, from antibiotics and other medications. They are necessary, so you can't totally avoid it, but you can fix it, but it won't often. So our gut, our inflamed gut, can't really break down those products. The gluten is in the gut transferred into gluteomorphines, which is highly addictive. Yeah. And the milk nowadays has casein in a form that also produces caseomorphines. And those two usually get broken down by an enzyme, which is called DPP4. And that is deficient when your gut is out of whack. And many kids, it's interesting that we talked before in the break a little bit about kids. Many kids with autism or ADHD have a deficient enzyme, and they especially crave milk and white flour products and sugar because of that.
Wow,
milk, cheese, white flour. And that can be fixed, but they hate vegetables. Yeah. It's very hard for the parents because often they are also defiant, aggressive, and it's very hard to manage. It can be. I had a guest here on my show. She had ADHD. Her mother was very great. She cured it with diet. It's hard to do. Very hard. And sometimes medication is the best option, at least for some time. Yes. Until the child is big enough to realize they want something else. Yeah. And that is one of the main causes, because when they cut the fat, people craved something. They wanted to eat. And so the food industry jumped on the bandwagon and said, oh, the breakfast cereals, add a little more sugar. And you probably know when you read the labels, and that's something else people need to do. Not just how much sugar and stuff, the ingredients. Yeah. And then you look at a cereal for children, it's more sugar in it than for adults. Oh, absolutely. Like, I pretty much grew up on breakfast cereals. I loved Captain Crunch and Lucky Charms. And like, my parents bought them and didn't think of anything. It was like, it was like something for breakfast. We didn't have it in Germany, interestingly. So I grew up on Haferflocken, which is basically rolled oats, raw, with milk and sugar. And my brother ate that every morning. He never got big. So that alone doesn't make you big. It is the combination and the artificial. Yes. Julia Ross in her book calls it the techno-carbs. Yes. And it's really the case, because what you get is food that is nutrient devoid.
Yes, and like when you start consuming that on a regular basis, you're going to crave more of it because that's how addictive sugar can be. Like if you consumed just sugar alone, it's going to digest in your system after an hour. It's going to cause that huge spike in insulin. When you're no longer digesting, you're going to hit that sugar crash, and then you're going to, you're just going to get into a repeated cycle of craving sugar throughout the day.
Yeah. Your sugar gets so low that you get shaky and nauseous and you crave sugar again.
Yeah, and I've been in that situation.
Oh, me too.
And it's not a good feeling.
Absolutely not.
Which is why I don't like to keep that in my house. I stock up on lean proteins and nuts and seeds throughout the day, and that kind of gives me the sustainable energy level that I need.
and that is so important. And it is also important that people realize that fat is not the enemy.
No.
It is the quality of the fat,
Absolutely.
the quality of the food.
Yeah, so when...
It makes it a big difference what kind of protein you eat. When you eat a steak, if you choose to eat animal meat, which most people choose to eat some animal foods for health.
And what you want to consume of more fat is the monounsaturated fatty acids. They're the omega-3s that are found in olive oil, a lot of almonds, and you can get it in like flax seeds. So they're going to help keep the weight off you and provide you with more energy.
That is important, and it's also important to know that if you choose to eat a nice marbled steak, have it from a grass-fed animal.
Yes.
Because the omega-3/6 ratio of a grass-fed animal is about 1 or 2 to 1.
That's correct.
Whereas a CAFO, concentrated animal feedlot animal, has a relationship of over 20 to 1 because it's grain-fed, which cows are not supposed to eat.
Yeah.
That's important.
Definitely. So that's very good advice.
Now, before we end the show, I would love for people to contact us and go to the website. Just type in bit.ly/drc-transform, and you can watch a webinar where we talk about the 8 root causes of weight loss resistance and how to overcome them. Well, it was a real pleasure to talk to you, Erin, and we'll have another show soon.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
And we'll talk about all the root causes a little bit more, because I'm really excited to do that, because I think when we join forces, we can do way more than if we choose to compete each other.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because we both want the same. We want to help the people lose the weight and keep it off.
Yeah.
And everybody knows how hard it is. I tried it myself for years. I went to Weight Watchers, lost 50 pounds. Then I hit a plateau. And then I said, why do I pay money when I hit a plateau? All the time for months. And so I left, and then I started eating again. And if you're down in the dumps, stressed out at work, you want to eat.
Absolutely.
Many people are emotional eaters. We talk about that more in the next show. So thanks so much, and I'm very excited to start that program soon. And this brings me to the end of today's show. Please don't hesitate to contact us with any questions, thoughts, comments, or suggestions. My email here is Christine, CHRISTINE @communityradio.ca, or contact us through our website, docchristin.com, docchristin.com. And I'm always grateful for any feedback. I also want to extend a special thank you to today's producer, Ryan Pulsifer. You might not know this, but this is a volunteer-run, non-profit radio station. And we even have the Art Gallery, the only radio station with an art gallery and a performance stage in Canada. If you're local and you'd like to drop in, we are at 11 Glendale Avenue, Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia. Thank you all for listening to Healthy Alternatives. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Sauer. Tune in next Thursday at noon on 97.5 CIOE-FM Community Radio with live stream on communityradio.ca for the next episode. Goodbye and have a great day.